Hey there, today I'm going to go back to Parte LL remake. This is part 2, and I'll pop a link to part 1 in the top right corner now. This was originally created by Parte, and it's now been taken over by Flyboy, Schema 61 and Crimson, amongst others, who have overseen this mod while they wait for Moon to come back to take it over again. It's all about LLs in this mod, and after looking at the first 5, it's time to look at the second half, which is all dwarves. So let's get straight to the old Karaks of the Warhammer world and start off with our first one. The Dwarf King of Karakurn, and a traditionalist even by dwarf standards. Riky Vampdator will not use the new technology of his fellow dwarf kings in his armies. He prefers the traditional dwarf crossbow and good hard steel to bring the Book of Grudges to a respectable level, and that means clearing its Yedger, even if it takes him 100 years. First, let's talk about Ryk's faction effects. As you can see, he brings cheap young birds and increased room and crank of Thanes, as he shuns the new technologies. While his the old effects increases the power of his dwarves in his ranks and +3 for young bird recruitment. If you want to roleplay as a traditional dwarf, this is a fine choice for your leader. His starting army is of course traditional, with a couple of units of quarrelers and very attack minded units, hammerers and young birds as well. A good starting army. Well, for a dwarf army, not much on defence. As you can see from his stat card, he's very good melee combatant, more on the offensive with that high melee attack, and a good charge bonus as well. So he can definitely put some damage into the fight with high AP of 350, and a good anti-charge bonus of 20, which is indeed rare for a dwarf, outside of course Ungrim. So if you see a large foe, you can rest assured that Ryk here can definitely put a beating down on that large monster. Items now, and we start off with the Book of Vengeance, which for a dwarf has less grudges than others. This causes the enemy to rightly know they are dealing with a dwarf who takes these fights very personally, dropping leadership and melee attack. Next we have Helm of Eagles, a simple buff adding more melee defense in a good radius, and it also adds a lot of these items in particular skill small trait buffs as well. I'll go over these in the tech trees. Next we have an Axe of Retribution, adding a bit more damage of the AP variety. And if he's facing large units, which he really should be with his stat line, can increase splash damage if he gets surrounded. Lastly, we have a buff to boost his leadership and armour significantly, making him a true tank of a yard. And his opponents will need a lot of AP to get through his armour. So like I did in the first video, we're going to check out each skill tree and talk about each one. And then we'll move on to the next character and so forth. So, let's start off with Ryk. As we've just seen his cards and his abilities. So we've got the usual one. Root Marcher, we've got minus instinct, so just a bit more chance of intercepting. I don't think there's anything, no, it doesn't give any bonuses. Wall Breaker, minus enemy siege hideout, very good. Cheap Thanes, and Untainted, very nice, but up to maximum of -3%. Yeah, just reduces it holdout time by -1. I don't think you can get it any higher than that. And they get Suffering by Defender as well. Mason, Construction, Iron World, Casualty Punishment, plus 30% for Yord's armies. Very nice, that's very high. That's really, really high. Lightning Strike, Reassuring Presence, Inspiration Eater, Alert, and Inquiring Mind, so Research Rate. So his team-based ones, his particular army-based ones. So as before, these are going to be pretty much identical for each particular one. We've got some Ranger ones there. That's interesting. Ah, they have got some individual ones. Okay. So that's not one. Don't think that is, but this one is. So what's this one? Range plus 10%. So can we go up to range 20%? That's nice. And real time reduction as well. Very nice. Battle Hardened Warriors plus 5 for young bird units and plus 5 for weapon strength. Not massive, but substantial. Some melee attack for various swayers. Ironside, bit of defense for the Ironbreakers, Wowie. Then these are all based on, oh no, that one isn't. Magic resistance 25% for Dwarf melee, that's interesting. Honoured by Grumney, bit of physical resistance for Swayers, Giant Swayers and Hammerers. And King's Guard. Some more bonuses for Hammerers and Ownbeards, which is rather nice, and Standing Ground. So I'll have to go for each one of them. So what are the more interesting ones? So there's his own personal ones for his particular faction. So what we got here, armor +5 for Youngbeard and melee attack +5. So we have got bonuses for Youngbeards no matter what. I think this is the one who have +3 criminal rank, as it says down there. And we've got Spirit of Grungi, or Grungni even. Bit of physical resistance for melee infantry. Pretty decent. Nice leadership plus ISO as well. Strength, bit of charge, figure loss reduction and speed. Quite a nice one that. Sharp axes. We have weapon strength +15% for dwarf units and two-handed axes. That's decent, but +15 melee attack is really strong. Impenetrable shields, so that's again more bonuses for dwarf shield units. That's good. That's specific. I like that. And melee defense for all infantry units. That's very good. And King of Karakurn. What does that do? Public order. Enemy leadership. That's not great, but it's not bad. Nice campaign movement range and cash replenishment rate. That's really good. And even cheaper cost for Youngbeards. Very nice. So these are all individual ones, so these are going to be pretty much identical to everybody else's, but I'll hover over them so you can have a quick look, and I'll check if there's nothing outstandingly new. No, there isn't. So any unique abilities at the top here. So it's Helm of Eagles, so ward save, which is really high, 25%, and ambush defense chance +50%. Nice, and causing fear as well. Then we've got Axe of Retribution. And piercing weapon damage +25, bonuses charge +10, melee attack +5, and weapon strength. And melee attack as well. That has a lot on his axe there. A nice bit of splash attack power, which is what you saw before when I went over him. But that's really powerful. So much on that. Anyway, moving onwards to the Book of Vengeance. So that's his basic you saw at the bottom here. But he also gets weapon strength +10% when fighting against greenskins, Yord. That passive ability, speed, and untainted. Not bad bonuses, nowhere near as powerful as his axe, but not bad. And the archery ability one, leadership +50, leadership +25 even, and +50 armor. And some nice melee defense, physical resistance, and missile resistance. I presume that's for himself, by the guess of it. Yeah, I would say so. Any more? That's leadership +9, that's really high. It's interesting. Rune of Grim there, Oath Forging there, the usual ones, and the Order of Deeps. Brass Young as well, blimey. And that's really good. Vigour is something that you should always take into account whenever you think about armies. Anyway, that is Ulrich's skill tree. Next we have Brynif Gundarak, King of Palakvar. During his younger days he spent his time with sea engineers learning the art of shipbuilding. When he heard his brother and father were attacked and killed by an ancient sea dragon, he swore vengeance on the beast, and took to the sea to find it. 20 years later, he managed to slay the beast, and come home to a hero's welcome, and was immediately made king. He also prefers the traditional ways, and spent his reign trying to get the Ddraig back to its famous old traditions. Faction-wise, he brings his knowledge of the sea, adding huge income boosts to his ports, and he has high seas immune attrition as well. With a nice recruitment rank of engineers to boot, which continues in his army, with cheap upkeep for master engineers and bonuses when on high seas as well. His starting army has a viable cannon and some good range units as well, and a unit of thunderers is always welcome, and with some extra punch from hammerers, making a nice well-rounded starting army. His stats are not geared towards fighting, but are solid. Good melee defense, which is backed up by a bronze shield. While he does not excel at damage, with no available boosts in that area, he does have 170 AP. First up of his items is a mighty weapon, dropping defense by 10 in a good radius as well, and always helpful for helping you hit that target. Next we have a similar buff to the previous sword, with the sea armor boosting melee defense as well. And finally we have a speed boost, which is not exactly essential for a dwarf, but does have immune to psychology as well, which is very handy as long as his health is kept high. So on to his skill tree. Let's have a look here then. And as you can see, it is different to the previous one. So let's get into it. Route Marcher, that's standard. Now this is interesting. Journey to the Dragon Isles, what does this do? Campaign movement range +15% and income. That's pretty powerful. That is nice. Fortress Breaker. Much like the Arsenal. Pure Beard. Untainted. Just untainted, that is. Sea Engineers Guild. That's quite nice. Research rate 15% and construction cost minus 20%. That's really nice. Dwarf buildings are really expensive as a rule. So that was the same as the previous one. Then we've got Lightning Strike, really showing presence. Intuition Eater, so you really jack up his casualty replenishment quite high. Yurt, yeah, that's quite nice. And Inquiring Mind, so nice research rate. Not bad. So anything interesting here? Shock Troops, so that's different to the previous one, I believe. So that's Dwarf Warriors and Youngbeards. Now that's definitely it. Snipers of Palakvar. So that's +5. Ooh, let's get it to max so we get a good first 10% Quarries of Thunderers, ammunition, and missile damage. Very powerful. I like that one. That's pretty much standard. Yeah, that's pretty much standard. Fire and Fury. A bit more missile strength for a real time reduction as well for Iron Drakes and Flame Cannons. Very nice. Bordering Armaments. That's unique. Bonus for infantry. That's interesting. For Dwarf Warriors, Thunders, and Crawlers. That is really cool. I like that. Yeah, up to maximum 10. That's really powerful. Yeah, that one was a great ability. Then Thundercrap. So that's range 10% for Thunderers and Mastery Engineers as well. That's really cool. And physical resistance, very nice. Then we got Rally, West Gungi, Dari Firepower, Outer Gungi. These are all similar. At the very east. And then we've got Standing Ground at the end. On to the even more interesting ones. So we've got Oath of Vengeance, so that's his me defense, expert charge defense, Oathstone ability. And chargeable is +20% when fighting against greenskins. Your army, that's powerful. That's really good. Seems to be a bit of a theme so far against the poor greenskins. Dwarves don't like them. We don't. More ammunition for artillery and better master engineers. Yeah, this is a character. Yeah, I thought there was a reason I was getting all these master engineers. So I got those. Where were we? That one. There we were. So that is really powerful. And 20% missile strength and missile damage. Really nice. Iron Fleet. Leadership +10 with fantasy. Not too bad. Doesn't happen that often, but you could go and do a nice themed army with this one and go up against all the Vampire Coasters pirate traders. Or piraters. Or pirateers. That'd be quite cool. That'd be quite an interesting campaign, actually. Dwarf Trade Centre. Ooh, that's power. Only for the local province, though. You want... That's not as strong if you keep it at home, but I like to have my my king out there doing his work. But there's a possibility. He always just sit on his phone and just get all the cash. That's good. Minus 25% upkeep for Youngbeards and Hammerers, and some melee attack +15. That's really powerful at max level. And then King of Palakvar. Hit points, weapon strength. There is definitely a case for keeping him at home. 25% tax is really powerful because that's got 4 provinces, if memory serves. So, or 4 settlements even. Interesting. So this looks like it's the same as usual. But yeah, I would consider doing that actually on my campaign. Only really one of those things that if you see a skill tree that really benefits from staying at base, it gives you something to think about. And you can always replay the campaign and do it another way. But anyway, so this is his chart, Palakvar's Book of Charts. So that speed is nothing, and immune psychology is not really that interesting. It's okay for itself, but we got nice minus upkeep, minus 10% upkeep for all units. Campaign movement and line of sight increased, and casualty management. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. At rank 7, that's pretty nice. What about his weapon? So that's a melee defense thing. He also has bonus versus charge +10, magical attacks, and melee attack. And enemy, that's quite dramatic. That enemy leadership minus 20%, minus 20 for dragon units. That is really cool. I like that. Really falls into his yaw. I like that. Very good. See armor +10 and fire resistance +70%. So yeah, if you are definitely going against the dragons, that'd be quite cool if they could entangle this Yord. I know it's a bit out there, but with what Imric does, and he has to hunt down his dragons, maybe they could do something similar for this. Quite a lot of work I would have thought though, but an interesting idea. And all of this is the usual thing, if from what I can see, yes it is. Excellent. So there you are, that's his Yedrior skill tree. Time to talk about a Yedri engineer. In his younger days, Sven and Burok Damundsen were creative, even for dwarves. and they began radical experiments to increase the technology of the dwarves. However, during these experiments, Burke's arm was blown off. From that day forth, Burke decided not to experiment anymore and went back to the old ways that the engineers know him well, and he finally became head engineer of Karakurn. However, Sven decided to continue his experiments, and much to the engineers' guild dismay, he took to Ustria so he could continue his work in peace. With his continuous dangerous work, the dwarves distrust him, and as you can see, he has a rare negative with his fellow Ddraig. His research rate has a welcome boost, as well as a casualty replenishment as well. His own effects provide cheap access to dwarf warriors and artillery, and increases the in ute. He also has a campaign movement, which completes a powerful set of bonuses. Starting army for Sven has 2 lots of artillery, which I would never complain about, and some miners with blasting charges. Sort of damage potential straight from the start. Again, not a big combat character, but solid in defense. More than the others, again with limited damage. An AP of only 150. Moving on to his items. First one is a hex to drop all melee attack around him. Very handy it is, so make sure you keep him near the front lines. If you do want him in combat, his weapon can help, with his charge giving a bit more punch in the first attacks. The last item is very powerful, with 25 missile resistance across the map, and with all the armour and shields that we have, this is just the icing on the cake. Keep popping this buff as they get in range, and then cycle it every chance you get. Now to Sven's skill tree. So what we got here: Root Marcher and Miner's Instinct, so that's pretty standard. Wall Breaker, that's standard. Master Mason, that's pretty decent. What's this one? Public Order +3, all provinces, really powerful. And construction cost minus 50% for province capital settlement builder, that's really good. That's quite unique. I like that. Iron World, seen that many times. Iron Strike we've seen many times. Yep, all these we've seen before, and Inquiring Mind. Yep, there's nothing special for that one. Fate to Access, so this is interesting. What's this one? Speed plus 50% for miners, dwarf warriors, and iron breakers. Not really much on the grand scale of things, but it's a bonus. That melee attack is definitely a bonus, and that weapon strength is even better because iron breakers hit hard. Miners are quite decent as well, to be fair. So that's nice. We've got Fierce Defenders next. Good miners melee defense plus 8 for miners, really handy. Dwarf warriors are very good, obviously from standard, and iron breakers are ridiculous. So that's really going to make them tough to break. And leadership and physical resistance. Ooh, very nice. Tactician, so that's just missile strength and ammunition. Fire and Fury. Some Mind Drake and frame cannon bonuses. Very nice. Innovation more and more. This is a gyrocopter one. So got range 15% for gyro, that's pretty decent. And dwarf artillery as well. Ammunition plus 20% and armour plus 20%. That's quite powerful. I like that. Best Memorial Grim, so even more bonuses for the gyrocopters. Interesting. So you can really go heavily into the gyrocopter builds. That's interesting. And of course, you got your dwarf artillery as well. They're very powerful together. Rary, Breastplate Gunji, Ddraig Firepower, Honour by Gundy, and Morgan's Favoured. So that's pretty much a standard. And of course, Standing Ground. Engineering Mindset, so plus 15% research rate, really good. Ammunition plus 20%, that's even better. Nice construction time reduction. Minus 50%, that's half it for building, that's really good. And enemy siege holdout time minus 3. Wow, that's powerful. Minimum 1 turn. So only on your first attack will that be possible. That's weird. Am I reading that right? Enemy siege holdout time minus 3. Does that drop it immediately on the first attack then? By 3. That's pretty decent. Shield walls. So armour, defense and leadership. Good. Especially dwarf shield units. Remember crawlers have shields as well. Grudges and golds. So that's weapon strength plus 10% when fighting against greens and Skaven. Skaven got mentioned in Last. Enough gold generated, which is good. Expedition, campaign, line of sight, and income from raiding. That's decent. Trust of Ustria. Minus 10% for all units. That's always good. And nice magical drop rate decrease and sacking as well. Nice. And Magnificence Fen. Yeah. I think we can see what GW did there. Or CA in this case. Or I think that's actually part of the yaw, so it is GW. Anyway, leadership at size plus 50, character or leadership at plus 5, hit points plus 20, not bad. Nice cheap material units. Yeah, not bad. Not the most powerfulest of rank 14 abilities, but still decent. He has got all the same usual ones. These. Yep, all the same. So, top line, Sven's toolbox. So that's that affects allies in range, map wide, 25% missile resistance, which is decent. What else does it do? Melee defense plus 5. Upkeep and ammunition. That's really good. Cast replenishment for the 2 units. It's a bit of a throwaway ability that, because they don't usually get attacked that much and this things go really badly. Avant guard. Speed and charge, and then of course armor weapon, that's decent. Yeah, that's a very good, strong, very powerful weapon, that is. Alright, that one. Zarguard is his helm. Minus 10% melee attack. Armor plus 10, melee defense plus 5. Fire resistance at 100%. Blimey. Ward save plus 10. That's powerful. That's really powerful. And these are all going to be exactly the same, I would have thought. Just a quick look though. Yes, they are. So there you go. That's Sven's skill tree. Now we head to Zufbar and we'll find the ruler Bowdoin Stoneheart. Being the most mechanised of the strongholds and very close to vampire hands means this place is key to keeping the Dwarves free of vampires, and Bowdoin is in charge of its defence. Zufbar is famous for being one of the factions which was involved in a battle of 100 cannons. This is where ogres decided to charge cannons, and they really found out that charging 100 of them is not a good idea. This is another dwarf with links for engineering, so research rate is increased as well as artillery strength. Interestingly though, there is increased cost of dwarf melee units, but this is compensated by having cheaper artillery units instead. And they also get increased range and ammo. His starting army is heavy on the firepower with frame cannon, which is a rare starting unit for any yard, especially with thunderers and the miners with blasting charges. This army can do amazing damage straight from the off. Bowdoin is as good as combat as we have had so far, with melee attack matching in defence and anti-infantry bonus of 20 with 200 AP. So when he's focused on infantry, Bowdoin can definitely do some serious damage and hardly take any in response. First up for his items, the familiar defensive boost for himself and his allies, which is never a bad thing. Then we have the crown of Zufbar, which is a very, very handy crown indeed. With that increased miscast chance, making casting against this army a bit less dangerous. Last we have Good Shetba, adding speed and again charge bonus, so getting Bowdoin needing a counter charge of this activated makes that particular charge highly effective. And so on to his skill tree. Let's have a quick look. So we've got, these are pretty much the same, we've seen these quite a few times now. Yep, Siege Defender, I think that's new, I don't think I've seen this one before. Attrition minus 30% when under siege and siege total time plus 3, that's powerful. Especially because where he is, he's the one by Zufbar, isn't he? So yeah, very handy. Iron Willed, casual replenishment, plus, yeah, we've seen that before. Anti-strike, definitely seen that before. Rapid supply, yeah, we've seen that. Underway reinforcements, oh, that's interesting. Global crewman duration minus 2 for cannon organ gun and frame cannon units. That's really interesting. Global, that's really unique. I've never seen that one before. Yep, I like that one. Yurt. Yeah, that's decent. And Inquiry Mind, so that's the usual ones. So, any special abilities here? Axe Swords, so yeah, that's seen some before. Gunpowder and Frame, this is a bit different. Bit ammo, a lot of ammo, plus 25%. Plus 15% thunders and frame cannons, and plus 50% damage as well. Very good. Traditional information, we've definitely seen before. Tough as iron, that's good. Magical, missile and physical, that's just, it's not much, 5%, but it's not too bad. Oh, yeah, top level is 15%. Yeah, that's more like it. Then we've got Gremlin's Heirs, we've seen that before. Weapon strength for sways, giant sways, hammers and ironbreakers. Thunder, good throwers, cannons and organ guns. Always powerful. Wary, and we'll have the usual breast by Gungi, or Gungi, Dwarf firepower, all by Grimnir and Morgan's Freevard. And standing ground, usual different ones, right, so there's unique ones. So Discipline of Steel, campaign movement rate plus 10%, casual replenishment plus 10, and untainted plus 2. Not bad. Not bad at all. Nothing spectacular, but not bad. Dwarf Engineering Guild. So that's construction time minus 30% for all buildings, no components. So that's quite good when he's just captured somewhere. Nice bit of missile strength for artillery, gyrocopters, and thunderers. Yeah, that covers a fair few units. Plus 10 is not massive, but it does stack quite nicely. Zuthbag, Book of Grudges. So that's on against Greenskin, Vampire Counts, High Elves, Skaven, Warriors of Chaos, and Norska. Well, that's pretty much everybody, pretty much, isn't it? Yeah, pretty much. Yep, that pretty much covers everybody. Fair enough. When we're forging, so of gold generation, and recruitment cost cheaper for Thunders, Gyrocopters, and Gyrobombers. Not too bad. I can't even. Scour Rough Crad? Armour plus 20 for Gyrocopter and Gyrobombers. Regeneration? Well, that's interesting. And Ward Save as well, that's pretty good. I like that. And then you got Grudge Bear at the end. Leadership, plus 50, Cardor, hit points, weapon strength, that's nice, weapon strength and hit points, and vigour, perfect vigour, that's really good. Because he's pretty decent in melee anyway. Grudge Setter, so that's his special ability, or special weapon. He also gets weapon damage plus 30, that's good. What is his weapon damage actually? Can we see from here? We can. Yeah, that's decent, gets it to almost 50-50. Oh, I was there, wasn't I? Did we go? I don't think we went across there, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be exactly the same as usual. Quick glance. Yes, it is. So, back to Grudge Setter. Melee attack is always good. Oh, nice. Near with frost attacks and actually causes terror. That's decent. I like that a lot. Then I got Crown of Zuthbar. Nice typical activations plus 25. Even though, on the whole, we don't have any problems with the dwarves. In money, pretty much all the overalls I've ever played, don't we have trouble with your fellow dwarves, which is a good thing. And tax rate plus 10. That's not too bad. Shield of King Korgan. Armour, ward save, always good. Wound recovery -1, that's alright. And oh, he's unbreakable. That's really good because he is really good in combat. And that melee defense active around himself, really good. Leadership plus 9. Rune of Grimnir. Yeah, these are the usual things. Yep, that's the usual things. So that's a Bowdoin. Head of Karakurn. Brock Ironpick, the Grim, has an enviable job. One of a small host to defend, and with the mighty Widows as their neighbour. While I have not been a threat to the Dwarf for a long time, they're always there, and always the dwarves remember those grudges they have against this particular faction. Faction effects wise, you have some cheap frame cannons, maybe due to a certain flammable forest nearby, cheap gyrocopters and bombers, making them significantly cheaper. With construction time reduced by a large 50% and the global recruitment increased by 1. This is one of my favourite faction effects so far. Brock's own army has increased strength and range for iron drakes and flamming cannons. So it's time to go to burn some elves, methinks. His starting army itself has a frame cannon and some iron drakes, topped off with some miners with explosive charges. A lot of damage and a really good army, especially with 4 dwarf warriors to protect those units. Brock himself has impressive AP stats on his card at 300, which I believe is the most so far, so he certainly gets to work with his pick. He acts as shield, so a bit weaker on the defensive side. Items wise, he has an Earth Burner, a wear constant damage ability around him, which also drops leadership as well, making it a very powerful weapon. Next we have Armour of the Hearth, which is handy if the frame cannons are getting a bit yax with their aim, or you decide to go hunting dragons. The Archer Regen, which I cannot remember seeing on a dwarf yard before. As always, a fine ale always keeps a dwarf in a fight younger. And let's finish off with Brock here. So, what we got? Roots Marcher. Same old, same old. Same old. Fortress Defenders. Okay, that's new? Yeah, that is new. What have we got here? Attrition minus 30%. Yeah, we've had that something similar to that actually. Got Iron Willed. That's just the one we've seen many a time. Yep. And Wisdom. Oh, I think that's new. Yeah, that is new. So more a research rate plus 20%, that's quite high, and plus 1% for, or plus 1 for woundsmiths. Decent. Can't beat a good woundsmith. Backbone of any dwarf army. Spying presence as usual. This is new. Burning Mountain. Best strength for iron drakes and frame cannons, and ammunition as well, and wheel time reduction. Very nice. Tactician, we've seen that many times. Furious Strikers. That's quite new. I don't think I've seen this one before. Me 8 plus 8 for minus Dwarf Warriors, Hammers, and Ironbreakers. That covers a lot. Again, the same for leadership, and again the same weapon strength plus 15%. That's very powerful. I like that one. Unbending guards. That's quite new. Let's have a look at that one. So that's armor plus for miners, defense for miners, Dwarf Warriors, Hammers, and Ironbreakers. Covering a lot of units. These things buffs, which is always good. Rain of Fire. So that's just. Boat forwards, gyrocopters. Boat forwards, gyrocopters. So the bonuses for them. Then we've got Iron Heart. More range, more armor, and more missile resistance, which is really good. Then we've got Rary. Then we've got the usual. West by Grungy, Die Firepower, Honour by Grimnir, and more Grimm's Favoured. So they're the usual ones. And Standing Ground, of course, at the end. How about his individual ones? Defender of the Rest, Karak Angkor. That's a mouthful. Leadership plus 10 when in our own or allied authority. That's good. Armor plus 10, ditto. And Vigorous minus 20%. When, that's decent. That's quite unique. You don't get often that own or allied. That's quite nice. Niche. Tunnel Master. I haven't fought many tunnel fights recently, actually. I've got a Dwarf campaign going on at the moment if you want to check that out. We're using the End Times mod. I'll pop a link in the corner at the moment. But yeah, that's interesting. I haven't actually seen not that campaign as far as I can remember at the time of recording anyway. Moving on, Ironclad. So growth, public order, and minus public order, and attrition as well. Frame of Vengeance. So plus 30% for Iron Drakes and Frame Cannons. That's decent. Nice recruitment rank. I haven't seen many recruitment rank bonuses. Plus 4. That's really good for me off. And recruitment cost cheaper. Reinforcements. Campaign and casualty punishment. Decent. Speed plus 25% for gyrocopters and gyrobombers. They're pretty quick anyway, so that's not much of a problem. And then global recruitment duration minus 2. Another global recruitment buff. That's good, that. And finally, we got your Order of the Grey Mountains. Leadership plus 50%. Characters always plus 50. Hit points plus 20. Enables frame attacks. And more recruitment bonus. Decent. Very decent. Frame attacks is always good. All of this will be exactly the same as we've always seen. Very quick glance. Yes, it is. Then Earth Burner. That's that AoE burn. Very handy. What other abilities has it got? Plus 20 weapon damage. Plus 10. Minus 10 enemy user and causes terror. Yeah, that's decent. That's really good. That buff, that Earthburner buff itself is really the best thing about that weapon, I would say. Armor of the Hearth. That passive ability for flame resistance. That's not too bad. Plus 10 armor. 20% ward save. That's good. And a wound recovery to minus 2. Not bothered about wound recovery, but ward saves are always nice. And it's Tankard. So that's his regen. On Dwarf, very rare. Casualty management plus 20, that's going to stack with all the others, that's really powerful. Hit points plus 10, that's good. Physical resistance plus 20, that's really good. And untainted plus 5, that's decent. Very nice. And that will complete my look at this mod. Thanks for watching. And I recommend picking this up to increase your choices of legendary lords and different ways to have a campaign. And until my next video, thanks again.